If PSM I validated your knowledge of the what and how of the Scrum framework, PSM II validates your understanding of the why and the how to help, focusing on advanced servant leadership, coaching, and organizational change. The PSM II certification is designed for those who already have a solid foundation in Scrum and are looking to demonstrate their ability to apply Scrum in complex, real-world situations, particularly concerning the organization and the larger ecosystem surrounding the Scrum team. To earn this certification, you will need to successfully pass the assessment, which is significantly more difficult than PSM I. You have 90 minutes to complete it. There are 30 multiple choice and multiple answer questions. To pass, you will need to get over 85% correct. The PSM II is an online open book exam. Since there are no penalties for incorrect answers, you should attempt every question. In PSM I, you learn the Scrum values: focus, openness, respect, commitment, and courage. In PSM II, you must treat these as your diagnostic tools. Imagine you walk into a sprint review and the stakeholders are shouting. A junior Scrum Master might try to facilitate the meeting better. A professional Scrum Master looks for the value leak. Is there a lack of openness about what was actually done? Did the team lack the courage to tell the product owner 3 weeks ago that the goal was unreachable? Think of the Scrum values like the oxygen in a room. You don't notice it when it's there, but the moment it's gone, everyone starts gasping for air. Transparency cannot exist without openness. Inspection cannot exist without courage. Adaptation cannot exist without respect for the team's self-management. To understand why Scrum is structured the way it is, we have to talk about the Cynefin Framework, created by Dave Snowden. This is a staple of the PSM II exam because it defines where Scrum belongs. The clear domain. Here, the relationship between cause and effect is obvious. If I press this button, the light turns on. We use best practices here. You don't need Scrum for a car wash or a repetitive assembly line. The complicated domain. Here, the relationship between cause and effect requires analysis. This is the domain of the expert. Building a bridge is complicated. You can plan most of it up front because the physics of steel and concrete are known. We use good practices here. The chaotic domain. Here, cause and effect are indistinguishable. This is the realm of rapid response, such as a total server meltdown. You cannot plan or analyze, you must act immediately to stabilize the environment. The complex domain. This is Scrum's home, where most software and product development lives. In the complex domain, more is unknown than known. The relationship between cause and effect can only be perceived in retrospect. If you are in a complex domain, you cannot analyze your way to a solution. You must probe, sense, and respond. Probe. Conduct an experiment, the sprint. Sense. See what happened, the sprint review. Respond. Pivot or persevere, the next planning. Let's look at a scenario. A CEO comes to you and says, I need a detailed feature list for the next 12 months so I can set the budget. A PSM I student might say, the Scrum Guide says we only plan one sprint at a time. A professional Scrum Master says, since we are working in a complex domain, a 12-month plan is actually a high-risk gamble. We are going to provide you with a product goal and a forecast. Every 30 days, we will show you a working increment so you can decide if you want to keep investing or stop. You are shifting the conversation from compliance to risk management. Let's get even deeper into the why. Traditional management is built on rationalism. This is the belief that if we think hard enough and write enough documents, we can predict the future. This leads to the waterfall model. Plan, build, test, fail. Why does it fail? Because of the relevancy gap. If it takes 12 months to build a product, by the time you release it, the market has changed, the competitors have moved, and the user's needs have evolved. You've built a perfect solution for a problem that no longer exists. Empiricism is the antidote. It acknowledges that the only truth is a working product in the hands of a user. The 3 pillars in action. Transparency. You make the mess visible. No 90% done reports. It's either done or not done. Inspection. You look at the mess together. Not just the product, but the process. Adaptation. You change the plan immediately. Now that we've established why we use Scrum to navigate complexity, we have to look at the who. In the PSM II, the most critical shift is moving from being a coordinator to being a leader. The Scrum Guide tells us the Scrum Master is an accountability, but how that accountability manifests depends on your stance. A stance is your choice of behavior in a given moment. We're going to look at the 8 preferred stances, and more importantly, the shadow stances that can quietly kill a team's self-management. The 8 preferred stances. A professional Scrum Master is like a Swiss Army knife. You don't use every tool at once. You select the one that fits the problem. The teacher. You teach the framework, the values, and the why. You are a teacher when you explain the risk of technical debt to a product owner. The coach. You don't give answers. You ask powerful questions. If a team is struggling with a technical hurdle, you don't solve it. You ask, what is the smallest experiment we could run to learn more? The facilitator. You set the stage for others to collaborate. You aren't the chairperson. You are the one ensuring the sprint goal remains the focus of the conversation. The mentor. You share your wisdom. If you've seen a similar scaling problem before, you offer it as a story for the team to consider. The manager. You manage the environment, not the people. You remove the corporate noise so the team can focus on the signal. The obstacle remover. You target the unsolvable problems. If the team needs a license for a tool and procurement is ignoring them, you go to procurement. The change agent. You look at the organization. You coach HR, finance, and marketing to understand that the old way of working is slowing down the Scrum team. The servant leader. This is the foundation of all stances. You lead by serving the needs of the Scrum team and the wider organization. What to avoid? To pass the PSM II, you must identify when a Scrum Master has slipped into a counterproductive pattern. These feel helpful, but they are actually impediments. The scribe. If you are the only one who can update a ticket or take notes, you are a bottleneck. You've made the team dependent on you. If you spend your day booking rooms and ordering lunch, you aren't a leader. You're an admin. The team should be able to do these things themselves. The police. If you walk around saying the Scrum Guide says you must do this, you are focusing on compliance over value. You've lost the why. The hero. This is the most dangerous one. The hero jumps in to save the day when the team is in trouble. If you save the team every time they fail, they will never learn how to save themselves. You are effectively disabling their self-management. Let's put this into a real-world scenario. You notice that during the daily Scrum, the developers are not talking to each other. Instead, they are all looking at you and giving individual status updates. They are waiting for you to tell them what to do next. The junior approach. You listen to the updates, take notes, and then suggest who should help whom. You've just taken the secretary-scribe stance. The master approach. You step back. When there is a silence, you don't fill it. You ask a powerful question. I see our sprint goal is at risk because of the database issue. Who here has the best idea on how we can tackle that together today? By doing this, you are using the coach stance. You are forcing the team to look at each other and the sprint goal rather than looking at you for permission. You are fostering self-management. We looked at how the Scrum Master serves the developers. Now we turn our attention to the product owner. In the PSM II, the relationship between the Scrum Master and the PO is one of the most tested areas. A professional Scrum Master doesn't just facilitate for the product owner. They coach the product owner to move from being an order taker to being a value maximizer. We do this by addressing 3 things: the product goal, the value gap, and evidence-based management. Many organizations treat the product owner as a project manager or a proxy. They spend their time writing tickets and attending meetings. Your job as a Scrum Master is to help the product owner reclaim their authority. You coach them to focus on the what and why while leaving the how to the developers. One of the best ways to serve a PO is to help them find techniques for effective product backlog management. Are they ordering the backlog by date requested, or are they ordering it by value, risk, and learning? If the PO is struggling to say no to stakeholders, you take the teacher stance. You teach the stakeholders that a yes to a low-value feature is a no to the product goal. You facilitate the hard conversations so the PO can maintain a clean, focused vision. Evidence-based management. To make professional decisions, the PO needs data. This is where evidence-based management, EBM, comes in. As a Scrum Master, you introduce the 4 key value areas to help the PO visualize the value gap, the distance between where the product is now and where it could be. Current value. How happy are our users today? What is our revenue per employee? If CV is high, the PO might decide to stop investing in this product and move elsewhere. Unrealized value. What is the potential? Is there a market we haven't hit? This helps the PO justify the next set of sprints. Time to market. How fast can we learn? If it takes 6 months to release, the value is decaying before it reaches the customer. Ability to innovate. How much of our budget is wasted on fixing bugs? If the PO is frustrated that features are taking too long, you point to ability to innovate. You show them that the team is spending 70% of their time on technical debt. You coach the PO to prioritize quality items in the backlog to improve the long-term ability to innovate. Let's look at a common PSM II scenario. The product owner is being pressured by a director to add 3 new features to the current sprint because a big client needs them. The PO asks the developers to just squeeze them in. The junior approach. You try to negotiate more hours or suggest the team works overtime. You are acting as a project manager's secretary, and you are breaking the framework. The master approach. You intervene to protect the sprint goal. You take the coach stance with the PO. You ask, if we add these features, what happens to our commitment to the sprint goal? What does this do to the transparency of our progress? Then you take the teacher stance with the director. You explain that Scrum isn't about more features, it's about validated learning. You facilitate a session where the director and PO look at the product backlog together to see where these new ideas fit for next sprint, ensuring we never compromise the definition of done or the team's focus today. By serving the product owner in this way, you aren't just helping a person, you are protecting the organization's investment. You are ensuring that the heartbeat of Scrum results in actual value, not just a pile of features that no one uses. We discussed the business side of Scrum, maximizing value, but you cannot deliver value if your engine is broken. In this section, we tackle professional software delivery. There is a common misconception that Scrum is just for project management and the technical stuff doesn't matter. For a professional Scrum Master, the technical stuff is everything. Why? Because you cannot inspect and adapt if your product is a mess of bugs and hidden debt. If you can't release, you aren't actually doing Scrum. You're just doing waterfall in smaller chunks. Emergent Design versus the big upfront myth. In a complex environment, we acknowledge that we cannot know the perfect architecture on day one. Instead of spending months on blueprints, we use Emergent Design. We build the architecture as we build the features. This doesn't mean we don't plan. It means we keep our design flexible so it can evolve based on what we learn each sprint. The reality of CI/CD and automation. To have a 30-day sprint, you need to be able to test and deploy rapidly. If your definition of done requires a manual regression test that takes 3 weeks, you are physically unable to have a 1-week or even a 2-week sprint. The master's stance. You take the change agent stance. You help leadership understand that investing in continuous integration, CI, and continuous delivery, CD, isn't a luxury. It is the prerequisite for agility. Automation is what makes your progress transparent. Without it, you are flying blind. Technical debt, the silent killer. One of the most important concepts in PSM II is technical debt. Think of it like this. Every time you take a shortcut, skipping a test, writing quick and dirty code, or ignoring a security patch, you are taking out a high-interest loan. Eventually, the interest on that debt becomes so high that the developers spend 90% of their time just trying to keep the lights on and only 10% on new features. This is how successful products die. Let's look at a scenario you will likely see on the exam. The team is 2 days away from the end of the sprint. They realize they won't finish the final feature unless they skip the automated testing part of the definition of done. The product owner says, "It's okay, we can test it manually later. We need to show the stakeholders progress." The junior approach. You agree. You want the team to look good at the sprint review. You let the undone work slide into the increment. The master approach. You take the teacher stance. You remind the team and the PO that an increment that doesn't meet the definition of done is not an increment. It cannot be demonstrated and it cannot be released. You explain that by skipping the tests, you are destroying transparency. You would rather show the stakeholders that you only finished 3 out of 4 items perfectly than show 4 items that might break the system next week. You have the courage to stand up for quality. In the PSM II, you are expected to move beyond the team level. You are now a change agent looking at how the entire organization measures success and how its structure influences the team's ability to deliver. Up to this point, we've looked at a single Scrum team. But what happens when the product grows? Many organizations fall into the trap of scaling before they have mastered descaling. They add more people, which adds more communication overhead, which actually slows down delivery. In the PSM II, you must understand that scaling doesn't change the rules of Scrum. It intensifies the need for them. If you have 3 teams working on one product, they must have 1 product backlog, 1 product owner, 1 definition of done, 1 integrated increment. The master's challenge here is dependencies. If Team A is waiting on Team B to finish a component, transparency is lost. As a change agent, you don't solve this by creating project managers to coordinate them. You solve it by coaching the teams to self-manage their dependencies through cross-team refinement and shared goals. The final why of a professional Scrum Master is the organization itself. You are often the only person who can see how the company's traditional structures, like annual performance reviews, siloed departments, or rigid procurement processes, are killing the team's agility. Imagine your team is high-performing, but the legal department takes 6 weeks to review every release. This is an organizational impediment. The master approach. You don't just accept the delay. You work with the legal department. You teach them about the risk of long feedback loops. You help them find a way to integrate their compliance checks into the team's definition of done. You are moving Scrum out of the IT corner and into the DNA of the business. The PSM II is not about memorizing the Scrum Guide. It's about internalizing the Scrum values and the empirical pillars to navigate complexity. Now, head over to scrum.org to take the practice assessment. Good luck! If you found this guide helpful and want more content to level up your career, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.